Creative Katie, welcome to my channel and an art journal tutorial. Today we're going to layer up stencils and we're going to use negative painting. This one is part of my color scheme challenge. Join my Facebook group and join the challenge. You can make your own reference tool like you see here. I'll put a link in the iCards to the video where I show you how to do that. So here is the challenge for the next couple weeks. Bright aqua green, quinacridone magenta, and dioxazine purple. I've mixed the colors so I know what to expect if I decide to mix these wet on wet. So I'm going to start with a gessoed page. And the reason for that is I'm going to attempt to do some removing color through a stencil. And you need to have kind of a non-porous surface. Now I'm going to use color blocking here. I put the bright aqua, I put the quinacridone magenta, and the dioxazine purple. I'm not really trying to blend these colors too much, but you could totally do it with these colors because as you'll find out if you do the blending tool reference guide, these colors just play really nice together and you can mix them wet on wet and you'll get other tones of lovely, lovely colors. But I wanted to do kind of a blocking plan. So here I put the stencil on. This is Dash V. It's a new one from the Crafters Workshop, and bang for buck, people. Look at all those luscious marks that you can use. This was my first time using this stencil, but it will not be the last. And you can shop through the TCW Shopify store. The link is in my description box, and if you go through my link, you'll save 5%. So I am now using the same colors and using the same stencils, although I am using it in the 12-inch size and the 6-inch size, and I'm layering all these luscious marks on here. I'm using the same colors as well as black and white, and I love it. I especially like this motif right now. Using the 6-inch stencil allows the scale to go down. Now remember, I'm only working on a 7x10 art journal page, so the scale is going to have to reflect the size of the page that you're working on. I'm adding a little bit of black, and here especially it's important to have a smaller scale. And just by layering these colors and these patterns, I'm developing visual texture. This is a flat page. There is no texture on it, but it looks like there is because I'm layering pattern and color upon pattern and color. I'm doing a little bit of shading around the edge just to frame the page. And I often do that at this stage just to focus on what I have got going on. So now that I love, love, love the background, I grab out my hearts. Tis the season. Valentine's Day is coming. And I have these templates of hearts that I keep in my file folder. And I'm just tracing them on. I've arranged them however I like, and I'm tracing them on. And I'm using an inktense pencil here because when that activates, it's going to be permanent. But you could use a white watercolor pencil, a white Stabilo, or even a black Stabilo, and then take care to wipe it off so it doesn't muddy any other paints that you use later on. So with the negative painting, I am going to paint out all the negative space, and I chose to paint this white. But I think if I had done a teal, used the aqua there, that would have looked lovely. I could have used the magenta. That each color would have given a slightly different look. So I'm thinning the paint just slightly, just to make it go on. And I'm not too worried if it's quite transparent or translucent at this stage of the game. In fact, you can decide how opaque you want it to be. Right now, you can see a lot of that color and pattern is even showing through. If that's a look you like, you can leave it. If it's not, you can do what I did and add another layer of white. If you don't want to do hearts, you can do any shape. You can use diamonds, rectangles, stars. Just try to keep it simple, not too much detail. And here I'm going in with the second layer and, it's pushing back the color and the pattern even more. Now to make those hearts pop, I am using the floating acrylic technique and I'm shading inside the hearts with black to make it pop. I will put a link to the video where I teach the floating acrylic technique and give you a practice homework to do so you can practice that particular technique that you can then use all the time in your art journal page. And you can see the difference between the hearts at the bottom that have not been shaded yet and the ones above that have. What a difference that little bit of shading does. And you can use the floating acrylic technique to highlight with a lighter color as well. Using the negative paint, if sometimes you end up with a background that's very busy, very colorful, sometimes using the negative painting technique really works well. But you do have to give up on that lovely background that you had and commit to it. You won't be sorry. Now I go back and forth with the floating technique and I add more as I see fit, right? As I need to. Just let it dry and then come back. You can always add more and build up. Now I decide that I'm going to do some shading, same technique, on the outside. The white is just a little too white for me. I want to kind of just give it some shadows. And so I come in and I think initially I attempt to use the purple. I didn't want to go black, but I did end up going back in with the black later. So now I'm doing some more shading around the outside edge. Of course, I painted it all white, so any shading I did earlier, I lost when I painted it white. And sometimes when you're art journaling or doing a mixed media piece, that's exactly what happens. And you end up redoing something. But often we don't know what exactly we're going to do. So that happens. It's a process that we need to go with. Now, to introduce some of that color to the background, I get out my fan brush and I'm thinning the magenta paint, and I believe I use the purple as well, and I just splatter. And when I splatter with more than one color, there I'm using the aqua, I do dry it in between. So because if it splatters and it's wet on wet, it can make a mess. And then I'm introducing just a little bit of bling, a little bit of gold in here. And there you can see I've got the heat tool out. A little more shading to give a little more definition to the outside of the page. And I think I've gone back and I've done a little more black. I've just added the intensity of the black shading on there. And here I'm using my woodless charcoal pencil just to add a little bit more shading. There's lots of ways and techniques that you can shade. All good techniques to have in your toolbox. So I cut out the words, I printed it out, and I cut out kind of fussy cut, choose love. I gave a little bit of a white border there, and I'm just going to put it in the two big hearts. I would have liked to have put this on some of the white, the negative space, but I really didn't because I didn't have a plan. There wasn't room in the white space to do that. So this made the best sense given where I was. In a bit, you're going to see some close-ups of the finished page. Give me a thumbs up. Please, please, please join my Facebook group and join the Color Scheme Challenge. Share this video with your creative friends. And always, always, always choose love.